Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Josh Tec. Welcome to the Fastbreak right here on HoopSeen.com. We're excited to have you here on the show today. We're going to talk a little Georgia high school basketball. That's what we do around these parts, especially this time of year. It is that time of year to definitely get into the conversation, which we're really excited about having a full conversation about what's going on in the Peach State. Last week was my favorite week in the year for Georgia, the region tournaments, because I feel like that's still they take the top four teams from the region to get to the state tournament. And so with that, the bracket gets set where they take the top four teams. And I don't know if I love the current setup. I know this is the last year for the current setup in the state of Georgia. They're going to go to a more weighted system, which I think is better for the game. But overall, Josh, we've got like 15 state championships to crown in the state of Georgia. I think that's the number between boys and girls and the wheelchair champs. Or is there more than that? I think there's more than that.
There's 16 between boys and girls because there's eight classifications, 7A through 8 Division II. So the two A, I guess A single A or whatever is split in two. So you have 8.
Why did balloons just pop up on your screen? That was really strange.
I couldn't even begin to tell you that. I don't know what just happened that threw me off completely. So here we are.
I love it. So I don't know how that happened, but we may have balloons sporadically popping up, which means we're having a party.
It's not my birthday. Is it your birthday? Happy birthday.
Not my birthday at all. Maybe it's the people's birthday. I don't know.
Maybe it's balloons to celebrate the beginning of the tournament.
We've done a lot of podcasts over the last couple of years. I've never seen that happen ever before.
I couldn't even begin to tell you what happened. Like, it is nobody I know's birthday or anything like that. So I didn't get a text that said happy birthday. I don't even know how that would pop up in here. That was cool.
We're off to a hot start. Well, you're right.
But anyway, the story is there are 16 championships to hang out or to pass out.
Listen, let's start there. I think that's too many. I think it's too many. I think we've got too many brackets. Bro. I think we've got too many watered down routes to the championship game. Listen, I'm all for a team making a run the region tournament, but as I was going through everything, I saw a lot of teams that were under 6 wins in the season that are going to compete for a state title. And good for you. I'm glad that you kind of got yourself into the bracket, but I don't know if I think that that's the best opportunity for overall competition to see those types of teams playing for an opportunity or to get their butts kicked in round one, because we've never seen a team like that ever kind of pull off the major upset.
Bro, last year, I forgot who it was, but there was a team just by the fact that their region only had 4 teams that made it into the state playoffs that had 0 wins.
0 wins. Like, again, I know that's how it's designed, but I don't know, man.
And like, look through and like, there's just so many like under 500 teams. And like you said, they're way more drastic than under 500, but there are so many under 500 teams playing in the state playoffs. And it's just like, no shade, like nothing, no hate or anything like that. But like, come on, man, that's just crazy.
Listen, man, Toyota Corollas aren't racing in Indy 500. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, or maybe they are actually. Now that I say that, I think they do have some of those redesigned. But nevertheless, I do wonder, do we really have the best state tournament brackets that we can offer up and celebrate the season that it was? But that's why I love the region tournament. I think the region tournaments do have a lot of juice. I think they're pretty competitive. Listen, we got games tipping off here in a couple of hours in the state of Georgia. Not a lot today, but we have almost all of them tomorrow there in the Peach State. We're going to be keeping our eyes on it. I'll be watching a ton of film as I usually do, not just in Georgia, but of course all over the Southeast, really all over the country. This time of year is really a great time to kind of set the table for what March Madness is right around the corner. So we're going to go through a lot of who are your favorites. We're going to talk about that today on the show, your favorites in the class, the best first-round games to watch in 7A, some other first-round games of note, and, of course, some players that we're going to talk about, and then some matchups along the way. This is the tournament that I will say year in and year out. It was fun watching Jaylen Brown compete in the All-Star game because we know that he's got a major chapter in the state tournament, watching him compete with Wheeler, and then Malik Beasley in the three-point shooting contest, obviously with a ton of championships with St. Francis, and so many guys that we saw in the All-Star game over the weekend have great histories and great chapters for themselves within the GHSA and the state tournament. So this year will be kind of fun to see if anybody else kind of sets the table. But Josh, you keep your finger on the pulse on this pretty well since you've been there in Georgia, kind of watching all this high school basketball all over the place. And I feel like this year, much like it is now, like we saw at the Super Bowl, it's kind of the same faces that we know year in and year out. And I feel like that's kind of trickled down its way to Georgia high school basketball. But instead of the Wheelers and Norcrosses and Miltons that we're so used to, maybe we are seeing some new dynasties, particularly in 7A. Let's start there at the top. Grayson, are they your favorite to take the whole thing?
Yes, but I'm going to say this. Both Wheeler and Milton are also in my Final Four. So we're not really seeing a whole lot of variance there. But yes, Grayson is my favorite to win it all this year. I think Grayson. So here we go. With the Rams, only have 2 losses on the season. They both came on national stages. One of them being your backyard, Perry, Arizona High School, and then another one being to a school in South Carolina, I believe, at the Chick-fil-A Classic. But they've been undefeated in Georgia, right? No losses against Georgia teams. They've already beaten a team like McEachern to open the season, and that's their biggest competition in the state tournament. So they've shown that they can do that already. So I think Grayson's resume right now kind of leads them to being the number one, contender in 7A. Plus, they have the most talented depth, right? Like I would say Ace Bailey is the most talented player in 7A, but Grayson has 6 Division I caliber players on their team, right? So they have the most talented depth.
And I feel like that's kind of been the recipe for success for as long as I can remember, for 25 plus years in the state of Georgia. You've got to have, to your point, quality depth to kind of make this run through the tournament. At the back end of it, it's almost a battle of attrition sometimes. Are you healthy? Excuse me. Are you healthy?
Are you healthy?
I don't think that I am. I've got something stuck in my throat. I'm introducing my wife to, it's such nice weather. We're cooking out tonight, so I'm making a cucumber salad where you got the ground up peanuts. So I was eating some peanuts. I think I have a peanut lodged in my throat. So maybe between the balloons and the choking on peanuts, we are off to a very weird start on the fast break today.
We've gotten weirder. So
yeah, and I don't even have a water nearby. So this could be a one-man show with you here in a second if I keep struggling with this peanut lodged in my throat. Nevertheless, but with Grayson, to your point, yeah, I do think they've got the horses that are in place to make them the perennial favorite there in the 7A division. In 7A, like, again, I think there needs to be some restructuring, which we've talked about. I would really like to see Georgia scale back to 5 classes overall instead of 8 that we have, that we currently have in this setup with 2 Class A divisions, and then of course the 7, overall classes. So I would like to see 5. I think make the tournaments better. I know they added 7, what seems like a couple of years ago, but now it's probably been.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it was, I don't know. Maybe I was doing some research on this like last year. I think it was like maybe we're probably getting close to a decade ago at this point, honestly.
Has it been that long? Yeah. So I don't know if I love that, but I do think that the best teams that we see in the country do come out of Georgia 7A. And I'll kind of go from there. We'll circle back to 7A here in a second. Let's move down to 6A. Give me a couple of teams that are going to compete for it, and then give me your team that should be the favorite, that is your favorite.
I'm sorry, I cut out for a little bit. What was that?
Yeah, we're going to go into 6A now. I want to talk about some of the teams that you really are intrigued by with 6A.
Okay. Well, I mean, once again, this is not a lot of variance here. Alexander won last year. I think Alexander's got to be the favorite. And here's the thing, 6A this year is pretty wide open. There are other teams that could win it that weren't necessarily in the conversation last year. Like I think Shiloh is a team that could win it with a guy as talented as Tyler Jordan and a guy like Julian Cole kind of playing the Robin to his Batman. And then you have some other teams in there that can really make some noise. But right now I kind of have to lean Alexander as the favorite, one, because they haven't done anything this season to prove otherwise. They have talent. They've beaten a lot of great teams. They have a good resume, and they won it last year. So a lot of the players on this team are familiar with what it takes to get it done this time of year.
Yeah, if you could define what Alexander basketball is like, how would you classify that group?
I'd probably say maybe like grit and toughness a little bit, because they win a lot of games that aren't necessarily pretty because they have just different kinds of pieces that can win you games. But I think if you look like a difference between last year and this year, the similarity is Braden Liu. But last year had, I guess, longer guards kind of on the perimeter. This year, sophomore Pops Dunson at the point guard spot, he can pop off at any given game. Like he's one of the guards that can take you on a deep March run. So I think he's a guy you got to look out for as an underclassman in this tournament.
That's an interesting recipe too, right? Like we see teams, you have to have the upperclassmen to really kind of anchor it.
And that's Braden Liu for them this year. He's the senior,
going
to Kennesaw State and all that. So.
but they also know how to restock the shelves and keep the pipeline going and keep like this level of excellence still kind of at the top. And then we're seeing that there with Alexander kind of moving in this direction now, which has been, this didn't happen overnight. Like this has been a process for them to really instill this type of basketball, to really keep it going. Jason Slate's done a great job there on the west side of Atlanta, building programs out there off of I-20, and certainly Alexander is one of those teams this year in 6A. Let's keep it moving down to 5A. Josh, give me some teams that you're going to be watching, and give me the team that you feel like is your favorite going in to the brackets.
I think so. So teams that I'm watching, I'm going to watch for Tri-Cities and Eagles Landing. That is a matchup that could happen at some point. And those, I mean, once again, those are two names that you've always hear about in 5A,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
They were bad. I feel like they were trading championship years for a while, right? It was Eagles Landing one year, Tri-Cities another year, Eagles Landing another year, Tri-Cities another year. So those are always teams you got to watch. Dutchtown is another team that I'm really keeping an eye on. Tucker is another team that I think's really talented and has some pieces that can make a run. But at the end of the day, I think Kell has to be the overwhelming favorite. Once again, they won it last year, and they returned pretty much everybody that's played a significant role in that team from last year. So I don't see why they shouldn't do it again this year. And once again, they've proven it against all kinds of teams in Georgia. They've played a tough schedule. They've played a national schedule. I think they maybe only have like 3 losses on the season, and they're undefeated in region play and mostly undefeated against teams from Georgia. So I think Kell Longhorns are going to repeat.
CJ Brown, what does he have up his sleeve? He seems like one of those guys that the brighter the spotlight, the bigger the game.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of seeing it with South Florida right now, right? The school that he's going to, they're upsetting teams. They're number 1 in the American Athletic Conference. I think they recruit guys like CJ Brown because they know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
they find. Yeah, I'm with you there. I like that parallel there. Yeah, shout out to Amir and what they're doing down there at South Florida, man.
Yeah, you know what? He might not be at South Florida by the time CJ Brown is going to South Florida.
You think so?
I mean, there's going to be some coaching openings, and I think you got to be crazy to not at least take a look at Amir and what he's done, right? Like he turned South Florida around like
sure.
that. Like they're at the top of a league that has FAU and Memphis,
Yeah, that's fair.
That's crazy.
I'm not trying to be aggregated, as Bill Simmons says, to say that he's not going to be there. Nevertheless, respect to
no. That was just me kind of putting on if I were an athletic director, I would at least be giving him a call.
I like it. All right, 4A, there's some familiar faces there at the top, but I do feel like once we get through the first round or two, this is going to be one of those things where they'll be punching with some heavy gloves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you got to look to one specific region to kind of pick the championship winner in my book here. And that's either Pace or McDonough. They've both. So during the regular season, they split the series. McDonough won the region championship, beating Pace. But at this time of year, I think it's a fool's errand to bet against Sharman White. He has a lot of rings. And so I'm not going to bet against Pace Academy. I'm going to actually, in my bracket, I have them playing for the championship. But another team to look out for if you're looking for not maybe a non-traditional power or a team from outside of the immediate Atlanta metro is North Oconee. They've been really good. I think they only have 3 losses this year. They've got a lot of talent. They have young talent. They have experienced talent. I think that's a team that could really make a run.
Yeah, for sure. That's another program that seems to, again, it's not been overnight. Like it's been building, and if you know the people that are around that program, it's not a big surprise to see the success they're having, particularly with the guards that they have there as well. So 4A, is Pace your favorite then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Pace, mostly just based on program pedigree and all of that. Like I know McDonough's won 2 out of the 3 games, but it's just hard for me to pick against Pace.
Totally fair. All right, move down to 3A. Give me the snapshot, the Josh Tec snapshot of 3A. What do you like? Who do you like? What do you think?
I think it's kind of the same as last year. Like I think the 2 teams to beat are Sandy Creek and Cedar Grove. Cedar Grove talented with a lot of sophomores. You got Manny Green there, who's one of the best sophomores in the state. But right now, at this point in time, Sandy Creek is just like playing on a different level than all these teams. You have Amari Brown, you have Micah Smith, 2 seniors now who feel like they've been around forever because they've been playing at such a high level. And Sandy Creek's been such a successful team for their entire careers that you feel like you've been watching these guys forever. I think they repeat. They go out on top again. They end their senior seasons on the highest of notes, and Sandy Creek wins 3A again.
Who do you think gives them the toughest run there in 3A?
I would say Cedar Grove probably, but the fact that those two are region rivals, I feel like Sandy Creek kind of knows them so well at this point. And Cedar Grove was really good last year, and they competed and butted heads against each other last year. And then it's pretty much the same recipe for success for Cedar Grove this year. A lot of those young, talented players. So I think Sandy Creek's just really familiar with. And again, I think it's
Yeah.
Sandy Creek's year, but I think we could be maybe seeing Cedar Grove take the mantle maybe next year.
Okay. As we move down to 2A, that's where we get to teams that are outside the Atlanta metro area. And honestly, I feel like 2A, 3A, some of these like classifications have always been some of the better games in the state tournament, and absolute just like classics that are happening down there in Macon. A lot of fun to watch. And there's always teams that, for those that are in Atlanta, maybe don't know a lot about, that kind of go out there and wreck a bracket, if you will. If you're a team, you're certainly aware of the success that you've seen from box scores, and when you look up max preps and see like scoring margins and whatnot. But 2A does get interesting, and it seems like this year, which is not a big surprise, we go out to, for you on your favorites list, Westside Augusta right now sits at the top of that for you. Why is that?
I mean, once again, like you're going back to program pedigree and talent.
Sure.
And I would say two other teams to look out for are Butler and Thompson. Last year, Thompson's best player was Levante Ivory, and he transferred to Westside Augusta this year. So they replenished some of the talent that left last year with probably one of the top 5 most talented players in that general Augusta-ish kind of region in Levante Ivory. So he went to Westside Augusta, giving them that kind of boost of talent that they graduated last year. So I think just his transfer and the fact that Westside Augusta has been so good for so long and so good again this season, I think I just got to go ahead and give it to them. And it's one of those go with them until proven otherwise kind of situations for me.
Yeah, totally fair. Let's talk about the Class A divisions here, D1 and D2. They seem like they change this up every year, where it was, at one point the small schools and there was the private schools, and this year it's kind of a mixture of both of them. With D1, for years it was always like St. Francis was always like the team year in and year out.
Yeah, they're good again this year. They have a chance to make a run again this year.
Yeah, talk to me about just that Division 1 bracket if you can.
Yeah, sure. St. Francis is a team that has a chance to, make some noise. Paideia has a lot of young talent. They have a chance to make some noise. I think the overwhelming favorite has got to be Mount Vernon. I think Tarek Mabin and company have done a really great job at building this program up. I think this is going to be the culmination of their efforts. They have so much talent on that team. A guy like KJ Garris, a guy like Zay Shagog, a guy like Dennis Scott III, just so many guys across the board on that team. And they've played a difficult schedule. If you look at their, just their record, it's going to be 18-9, which isn't like overwhelming, but they've played probably one of the hardest schedules in the state. They've played up against everybody. There's a lot of really close losses, like one single possession losses to teams like Oak Ridge from Florida, who's immensely talented and all of that. So Mount Vernon went out there and tested themselves. They've shown that they can play at this level. They've shown that they could be a dominant team. They've shown that they can play against the best teams in, at least our region. So I think that they have to be the overwhelming favorite, just because of, one, they've been slowly building this point. 2, they've just got so much talent. 3, they're tested. Coaching's great. Like, I think this is their year.
I like it. Green Forest, not surprised. I mean, as long as they've had a basketball program, they're a contender there in Class A. What is the DNA makeup of this team this year?
That's kind of funny. I've had this discussion multiple times this year. Is what would you say that the last several years Green Forest's makeup has been?
Size.
Like, how do they win? Size, right?
Yeah, size.
This year they've been winning on the backs of 2 what I would consider to be smaller guards. And I'm not a big person, so I feel like I can say that. They have 2 guards that have gone out there and really put on shows, like 3-point shooting, getting to the rim, all of that. Like, their size has been helpful, but it's not been the show. Like the last 2 years,
Sure.
It's just been running out, or the last several years, it's been running out 7-footer after 7-footer after 7-footer, and just having overwhelming size. This year, it's a couple of guards who have really gotten the show done. Elijah Lewis being the kind of senior leader on that team. He's been fantastic this season. So I would say this year, look out for Green Forest guards. And I think, once again, Green Forest has played everybody. They're tested. They've been in the battles. I think it's a fool's game to pick against them. I mean, Last year they got upset, but it's probably not likely to happen multiple times.
Going back to the Justin Forrest days at Green Forest, where guards kind of ruled the realm there at that program. Okay, nice little quick little rundown. Again, a lot of classifications, but we want to kind of single out the teams that Josh you have as your favorites. Let's talk about some games, some first round games to watch in 7A. And I'll be honest, I don't feel like there was a lot that you're like, oh, I got to rush out, fight Atlanta traffic to go watch. But give me some games that you really like there in the 7A first round.
Yeah, so I think if you have the bracket in front of you, the bottom right quadrant of the bracket in 7A is really wide open. I would say that I have Milton advancing to the Final Four, but there is a lot of these teams could advance beyond Milton. So that was the most wide open version of the most wide open portion of the bracket. Within that, there are 3 games that I'm really looking forward to. Decula at Walton. Walton's based, got a really great stable of guards. Decula has Elahi Akita, who's been really good at down low in the post. And you got North Gwinnett at Milton. North Gwinnett's got really good scoring and Miles Clanton and Caleb Jones. And then you have Milton, who has 2 of the best guards, Anthony Goss and Josh Dixon not in the country, but in the state at least. And Daniel Ogunyemi down low. He's gotten healthy. He's gotten better throughout the season. So I think they have a trio of players that can really take them pretty far in this bracket. And then one interesting matchup is Archer at Camden County. Archer played probably in the hardest region in the state, I would say. They had to go against Newton and Grayson and all of them in region play. And they have plenty of talent. They have a lot of guards who can really go out there and make plays. But Camden County won their region, and Elias Williams transferred there from Charlton County. I believe he was that last year. So they've got that overwhelming kind of player down in the post that could really propel Camden County over a team like in Archer, who has the talent, who has the battle-tested resume. So I think that's a really interesting one to look out for.
Yeah, and region 1, and this, you're right, that is an interesting one because we know Archer is going to play hard. They're going to guard you.
Yep.
But if you look at region 1, that region is not just the best teams in South Georgia. We're talking about lineups with high-level football dudes, 2-sport guys, big dudes, strong dudes, guys that are rated within the top, 250 on the National Football recruiting list. I mean, we're talking about some guys that are going to come at you with all the physicality that you want. And Archer is a team, to your point, has been well prepared. I love that game. That to me is always those first round, region 1, the 2 home games on region 1 courts in round 1 of the state tournament are always some of my favorites to watch.
Yeah.
Because I think these teams from Atlanta, I think they know now from all the years of going down there, but that is a game that you cannot take lightly. The crowd's going to be there in full force. I'd like that pick from you on one of the best games to watch. If you're watching, make sure you go to nfhs.com.org. I don't know what
I think it's NFH. I had this issue the other day. I think it's nfhsnetwork.com.
That is. Yeah. That you're right. That's what it was.
Make sure network is on there.
Yeah, network needs to be on there. So go over there and watch that. Give me a couple other games that you have that you're going to be watching, kind of keeping your eyes on. Give me a tip of a game that I need to watch.
Okay, so I'm going to go outside of 7A really quickly, and I think another really interesting one is Riverwood at Lee County in 6A. Once again, that's a team from the Atlanta area. They've got 2 high major caliber guards on there. They've got the 2 high major guards, and then Lee County is just that team you go down south and play, and the entire city comes in and packs out the gym. Lee County's had a really good season once again. I think that's just going to be a really tough matchup. I think it's going to be whoever wins that game could make a deep run to maybe the Final Four even. So
and that's the 6A division.
That's in 6A. Yep. Lee County's given trouble to, they almost beat Scoot Henderson's Kel team. Last year, they made a run pretty deep in the tournament. So that's a team that might be off the radar for some people in the Atlanta Metro, but it's a team that you shouldn't take lightly. I think Ware County at Tucker in 5A could be a really exciting one. So in Ware County, Jarvis Wright, who was at Charlton County last year, transferred to Ware County, and he is one of the best shooters in Georgia. He's a guy down from South Georgia that maybe not a lot of people get to see very often. And they're going against Tucker, who has Josiah Lawson, who's been one of the best players in 5A this year. So I think that could be a really exciting matchup between really 2 high-quality guards. And then another 5A battle I'm really interested in seeing is Maynard Jackson at Clark Central. So Clark Central got the 1 seed after upsetting Winder Barrow, and Clark Central has Marcus Gillespie, who has been, one of the more underrated prospects in the state. He's a guy that's
for a while now.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a guy that's been averaging, I don't know, maybe like 20 plus points a game, 25 points a game for Clark Central this season. And Maynard Jackson has 2 really good guards too. So I think that one could be really fun to see how those guards match up against each other.
I like it. I actually like that one a lot. I'm gonna put that down on my watch list for sure. Burning some midnight oil out here. Just want to make sure we're covering it all. If you're watching this and you're watching the live stream, we appreciate you doing that. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on X. Hit that retweet button, hit that like button, or comment below what the first round matchup is that you're excited to see the very most this round. Give us some tips too. I mean, it never hurts to have a tip come our way. Like, hey, there's a sophomore at XYZ school, one of the best defenders in our region. Give us a heads up, too, because we certainly want to know as we get ready for the travel season, which, by the way, is right around the corner. We got the Georgia Cups. We got the tip-offs. The Atlanta Jam was our live period event in May this year. So make sure you go to hoopseen.com/events and check out our entire schedule. We're going to be in Tennessee, Florida, the Carolinas, Alabama, Georgia, of course. So we got you covered. Did I forget anywhere else? I think that's it. Kentucky. Yeah, sorry. How could I forget your hometown? My bad. All right, let's talk about some of the you mentioned it earlier, Eagles Landing and Tri-Cities, they can meet in the Elite Eight. I think when you look at that one, that to me is what Georgia high school basketball is all about. Those two teams absolutely compete. Tri-Cities is loaded with guys. Eagles Landing has a history of winning, not just in the short term, but I mean long term. For 20-plus years, they know how to win. That could be a big-time one. What other ones that you like in the potential second round that are catching your eye?
Yeah, so I think Pace could play Holy Innocents in the second round of the 4A tournament. So you've got Pace Academy, who's got the depth. They've got star power. They've got one of the best coaches in Georgia high school basketball history. They've got like all the pedigree in the world. And then Holy Innocents has some superstar power in Caleb Wilson and Devin Hutcherson. So they have two. They have Caleb Wilson's ranked in the top. We have in the top 5 of the 2025 class, and Devin Hutcherson will probably be a nationally ranked guy in the 2026 class. So you got star power versus pedigree, who also has star power. So I think that's just one of those big time matchups that I feel like Georgia's really going to show out for if it happens.
I feel like Devin Hutcherson is one of those guys that is going to be a major come up guy on the national level coming up this year. To your point.
Yeah, he just does a lot. He just does a lot well. He might not be like the most flashy guy, but he just impacts the game in just every way. So
I like it. Let's talk about some freshmen to watch too. This is always kind of the time of year where you're no longer a freshman if you played this many games, right? You're in the postseason. And I feel like this is always the chance for us to really see the difference between the guys that are all about the life. They're all about the game. They're all about taking their game to the next level. This is the chance for them to kind of solidify themselves as not just a great player in Georgia, but also a player regionally and potentially even nationally. So let's kind of go through some of those guys. Do you have a handful of players that you're going to be keeping your eyes on?
Yeah, I mean, hell, tonight I'm going to watch North Cobb Christian as soon as we finish this or whenever that game starts. And they've got Brock Bass-Bonner and Grant Robich, who are 2 of the better freshmen in the state that you got to be watching. That's why I'm tuning in. I want to see what they do in the state playoffs. And then elsewhere, at Woodstock, they won their region tournament with a close game against Etowah. I watched that one online, and this got to be one of the best seasons in Woodstock. I don't know what their history is like.
Without a doubt,
this has to be one of the best seasons in Woodstock history. Coach Eric Blair just went there from Kennesaw Mountain, and he just turned the program around immediately. They have a freshman in Taj Saragba, who's got to be one of the most dominant freshmen in the entire state. He's big 6'7" burly kind of guy that really impacts the game around the basket. So I think Woodstock is, one, watch them because it's a great story. 2, watch them because Taj Saragba is going to be a name that you want to know for the next, 3 years or however long it's going to be. And then, going back to North Oconee, they have a guy, Justin Wise, 2027 guard / wing, who does pretty much everything. He can really shoot the ball well. He came to the HoopSeen Elite Preview Camp and was one of the best players there. And he's just continued to have a great season on a North Oconee team that's, a favorite to make the Final Four in their classification. So he's a player that's been really contributing. And I think if you ask a lot of people in Georgia, who the best 2027 is this season, it's Trey Keith at Tri-Cities, point guard. He's averaging probably like 15 to 20 points a game. He's just putting up big time numbers, getting buckets for them. He's one of the reasons that Tri-Cities is favored to at least make the Elite Eight, or if not go all the way back to Macon to play, presumably Cal in the state championship game. So Trey Keith at Tri-Cities is a guy to really look out for this
I love it.
tournament as well.
There are plenty of guys. We're going to be keeping our eyes open as much as we can, watching a lot of games online. Man, you have me homesick, man. I love the first round, driving, getting on the phone. This is before like Twitter. I'd get on the phone. I'd be calling everybody that I know. Hey, who went over there? Who played well over there? I do wish that we had somewhere that we could put 4 to 8 games under one roof, like Swine Sports Academy or something like that. That we could see all the games in the first round all at the same place rather than just all at the same time. So, but nevertheless, thank God for technology, and that's kind of how we're going to be able to do that. But any other parting ideas or parting thoughts that you want to leave here on this first round preview show, Josh?
Honestly, there's probably too many to think of. I feel like I could just keep rambling about this forever. The more I talk about it, the more I think of something, the more I realize I forgot something. I forgot a game. I forgot a player. I forgot this, that, and the other. I've been kind of taking in a lot of these brackets, and I'm kind of just ready for the games to start because I've just been looking over the same stuff over and over again.
Well, here we are getting started, like you said, here in 20 minutes, it looks like, for some of these games there in the state of Georgia. Is it 20 minutes? No, sorry, an hour and 20 minutes. My fault. Not getting
hour and 20.
We'll be good and going pretty soon. So make sure you follow Josh. Make sure you follow at HoopSeen GA, HoopSeen Georgia account. We'll have you covered through there. I'll be watching a lot of games as well at Justin D. Young. Josh Tec TEC_. Make sure you follow him over there as well. And again, make sure you go to hoopseen.com/events if you're a travel coach. If you're a player, if you're a parent, you want to know what we have coming up. We got the spring preview coming up on March 17th as well. So a lot to kind of keep up. But go find the right event for you. We've got Georgia Cup events, all kinds of stuff. Plenty of events to get you covered from all levels of basketball. But he's Josh Tec. I'm Justin Young. We appreciate you watching. We're doing a little bit more podcasts here now that we're in the postseason. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you watching our live stream as well. And we'll see you next time right here on the Fastbreak.